welcome to the second try. We are using another video program to record this time. So we'll see if this works out a little bit better. And I feel like it will. But anyway, so now we're doing intro into sleeves. This week we will be talking about sleeves. And then later on this week I will give you a chance to work on a specific type of sleeve ooh, excuse me, that I've created before. I've created a little tutorial for it's not for everybody because there is a price point connected to it, but you can grab it if you'd like to. It will be there for you. So first of all, let's start off looking at the terminology. We'll talk about that. We'll go through all of these things, and also the different types of sleeves, the set-in sleeves. What is that? What's the all-in-one type of sleeve, a combination sleeve, and exaggerated armholes. Exaggerated armholes kind of go off of the combination sleeve, so we'll deal with that also when the time comes. Now, first thing I want to do is get my little drawing thing out here. So I'm going to show you, that way we can look at it and talk about it at the same time, because I think that that works really well. So let me, where did I find it? Here, in shapes. Okay, now I'm drawing this with a mouse, so please don't be too critical about what this looks like, because it's not going to be gorgeous. So this is our sleeve cap. Okay, ew, why did I stop? So we're just going to draw with one big smooth thing. That's our sleeve cap, the side of the sleeve. This is our dart. There's that. Comes up like this. Okay. So this is basically what a sleeve looks like, just fresh out of the gate. When you are learning how to draft your own sleeve. And I know how to draft a sleeve just by using, measurements and going off of a pre-made basic bodice that either I made, or I'm sure you can go to the store and find like a dress or something that you could use their bodice. But anyway, this is basically what the sleeve looks like. This part, of course, is more round up here. And then also, let's go ahead and draw in some of these other pieces. So I'll come here, and we'll do this. No. Let me use the straight line. Okay, so the bicep line is a line that comes across the base of the sleeve cap. And usually that's where it is. I'm not really familiar with it being in too many other places. Not to say that it can't, because once you get to altering your sleeve and using your sleeve for other drafts or making other types of patterns, it may not exactly move, because the bicep itself is not going to move, but in relation to the rest of the pattern, it may seem to jump positions. So that's one thing. And then I hate that it just redoes everything. Okay. Then you have your elbow line. And then you also have your wrist line. Now, I am guessing that you can call this either or the wrist line or the wrist level. Personally, if you ask me, it makes more sense to call this the wrist level and to call this line the wrist line, because technically this is actually where your wrist is, even though this is all funky looking. If I can explain that for 2 seconds. You have a dart here, and this side of your sleeve and this side of your sleeve actually equal the same thing, because they both have to sew together, so they're gonna equal. But you have this dart here, so once the dart closes, then they'll of course equal each other. But with the dart open, the reason for that dart being there, first of all, is to make the sleeve more fitted. You have an elbow and your sleeve tends to lean towards the front. So that is why it has this curve going in one direction, and you also have this. Now your elbow actually sits maybe right about here. Not quite half, and let me draw a grain line here. So this is about half. Okay. Your elbow really sits about here. This goes on the inside of your arm, the underarm part of your arm. This whole seam actually meets right on the underside of your arm next to your body. And then this meets that seam. This is about where your elbow is. This, the center of your sleeve, is the outside of the sleeve. That is the outside of your arm. And then, of course, this wraps back around. This cap part is what sews into the armhole of your bodice. Okay? So it's very important that you know that. And now let's mark our notches, and we're going to do a small text box. Do a text box here, and we'll call this is your back. The back is the part that has the dart on it. And then well, let's take the shape outline off. So we do no outline, copy, paste, and then move this over here. And we'll rename this front. Alright, that is important. And then we also need to draw some notches so we know where our notches are. So our back is going to have 2 notches. And we'll make another one. And then our front will have 1 notch on it. And we'll make one here. Then you have a couple more notches. You have one here. And this is actually your notch that will help you center your sleeve correctly. Because this center line, this grain line, is not actually going to be how you center the sleeve. Oh my god. This is kind of confusing. I'll explain it in just a second. I'm going to finish drawing my notches really quick. We have one notch here. And then we have another notch here. Last notch. Then there's a notch here. And I drew that at an angle so you can see it because this elbow line is coming across. Wait, alter this. There, okay. Now, what we have here, we have all these different notches going on. Now, these notches are, of course, notching the dart legs and signifying where those are so you can sew them up properly. Okay, once you close this dart, your notches are going to overlap here. Then this will basically be, a seam with 1 notch on it because now they've combined. So you're going to connect that and match that 1 notch with this 1 notch. Okay. And now this part up here, this is going to connect to your front or to your back bodice, excuse me. This notch is going to be matched up with your shoulder seam line, and this notch is going to match up with the front notch in your front bodice armhole. Okay, now, I'm gonna go down this and make sure we talked about everything. Let's see, we did sleeve cap, okay. The biceps line, that's this line up here. Elbow line is this line here. This I will call the wrist level, and this I will call the wrist line, okay? This is your grain line. And then here are your notches everywhere. The cap ease, let's talk about that for a second. And I actually noticed now I did not talk about the cap ease in the last video, so it's actually good that I'm redoing this. Okay, now your cap ease is basically this. I'm going to do a little quick math for you here so you can understand or get some kind of understanding out of this thing that I'm saying. So let me get a text box here. And it's taking forever. Come on, come on, come on, come on. I just want to draw a text box. Okay, so Normally, you want to have about 1.25 inches. So 1.25 is the same thing as 1.25 inches. To 1.5 inches. What is it doing? What? Yes, I can do that craziness. I'd actually do that. Okay. To 1.5 inches worth of ease, okay, in your back. And let me do a double check in my book to make sure what I'm telling you is correct. Come on, please. Double check, double check, double check. Double check, double check, double check. Do. Oh, these are different. Okay, so, yes. About 1.25 inches to about 1.5 inches worth of ease. Anything more than that, you have too much ease in your sleeve, in your sleeve cap. Now, how do you figure out the ease? Basically, and this is a simple version, I'm not giving a really, really detailed version of this, but basically what you do, you find out what the front armhole and the back armhole equal. And then there's a certain process to that. Let me give you an even simpler version of this. You are going to measure your front armhole, and then you're going to compare it to the measurement of the front part of the cap. And I'm going to come down here and make a slightly bigger thing so we can see this. Okay, so we're going to label this the front over here. We're going to label this the back over here. Okay, cool. So you're going to measure your front armhole, and then you're going to compare it to the measurement of the front part of your cap. So let's say, I'm not going to give you an actual measurement, but let's say that you measure it from here, which is going to be from your underarm seam. If you look on your bodice, you have this seam that kind of comes like this. You have